Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Automated Marketing Driving SMB Digital Spend. This is a BI Kelsey sponsored research webinar, and it's brought to you by Vendasta. I'm Mike Boland, and I'm an analyst with BI Kelsey, and I'll be your moderator today. Before we get started, I'd like to allow some time for people to log in, and in the meantime, there are a few housekeeping items I'd like to cover. First, I'd like to remind everyone that we're recording, and the replay video and slides will be available to all attendees. You'll automatically get an email tomorrow with all the relevant links to download those assets. Also, if at any point during today's webinar you experience any technical difficulties, please email us at webinars@biakelsey.com, and we have people standing by to help you. And finally, we'll be taking questions later, so please use the GoToMeeting dashboard on your right to ask questions throughout the webinar. So with that, I'd like to get started. So our goal today is really to talk about marketing automation and the opportunities it's creating around capturing SMB marketing dollars. And to help me do that, we have my co-presenter, George Leith, who is VP of Sales at Vendasta, and we'll get into his introduction in just a bit. But first, to give you an idea of what to expect over the next 30 minutes, the goal is really concrete rhetoric about marketing automation. So what is it? How is it moving down market to be more accessible by local agencies that sell to SMBs? And what are the best ways to utilize it? So I'll be kicking things off with the BI Kelsey analytical view to really set the stage. Then we'll hear from George about how all of this is playing out in real life. And then we'll have an open discussion and take some of your questions. And finally, we have some giveaways, such as a free white paper towards the end. So let's get right into it. The best place to start is really to level set with a definition. So what is marketing automation? So many of you are likely familiar with the term. We're defining it as software that streamlines manual digital marketing tasks, letting companies optimize the sales pipeline, lower cost of acquisition, and quickly identify hot sales opportunities. So that's somewhat well known and has been put on the map by companies like HubSpot and Marketo and others, but it's mostly been applied at the enterprise level by larger brand organizations. And one of the key trends that underlies our topic today is that along with lots of enterprise software like CRM and other things, marketing automation is really being democratized and moving down market to be accessible by smaller businesses. And that importantly happens on a few different levels. So number one, some savvy small businesses are using marketing automation in a DIY sense. But more often, marketing automation is being offered to them by local agencies who will fulfill and execute campaigns on their behalf. But there's also a third scenario where local agencies are also using marketing automation, for themselves and as an internal strategic tool to optimize their effectiveness in selling different services to SMBs. And that's an important distinction because it's that third category that we'll be focusing on today. And it's also where Vendasta hangs its hat, as we'll hear from George in just a bit. So with that backdrop, an important question is what's driving this opportunity? And that can start to be seen by looking at the addressable market of local digital advertising. So here we see BI Kelsey fresh forecast data that project local digital ad spending to grow from $18 billion this year to $23 billion in 2020. And the point is that this really compels better tools to help local agencies capture some of that spend by working with local advertisers. And that includes both SMBs and multi-location businesses. And what marketing automation helps accomplish is targeting those local businesses in a smart way and in a data-driven way through multiple channels. And also importantly, to do so quickly. So response time to warm leads can be the difference in winning or losing SMB business. The data I've seen indicates that the value of a hot lead diminishes by almost 100% during the first hour after that lead responds in some way to a call to action. And that's increasingly true in a hyper-competitive marketplace. SMBs are completely inundated and oversold, as many of us know. So reaching them effectively and quickly with the right messaging is quickly becoming a competitive necessity, for local agencies. So, to back that up a bit, here are some BIA/Kelsey data from our SMB survey that show the many channels where SMBs promote themselves locally. And this isn't even all of them, this is just the top 10. And that leads me to my second premise, which is that fragmentation compels automation. As a 10-year analyst in local, I can attest to the fact that we've seen quite a land grab, which has created a very crowded marketplace for local marketing. For example, lower barriers for mobile app creation has created several startups that claim to put small businesses on the map. And to the right, you can see BIA/Kelsey's local commerce universe, which further illustrates this crowded and growing ecosystem. So the result of all of this is that local businesses end up with lots of options and lots of ways to diversify their media mix. And that's a good thing. And they're responding to that with 6 to 13 different media used on average, according to our data, depending on the size of the business. But though, that can be a good thing in terms of their diversified media mix, it has a downside in that it makes things difficult and competitive for local media companies or agencies that are selling to them. And that's the pain point that marketing automation, in the way we're talking about it today, has the potential to alleviate. So continuing this thread on fragmentation, our view is that it will only continue and get worse with factors like the rise of localized social media. So companies like Snapchat, for example, are starting to move into localized native advertising, which I've covered extensively on the BIA/Kelsey blog. You can read about it there. And we also forecast local social spending to grow at 27% compound annual growth rate through 2020. And as a side note, a lot of these channels are content oriented. So content generation and sources of content are going to continue growing in importance for local agencies. But another kind of hidden takeaway here is that the pace of this change will require that any marketing automation platforms used by local agencies be highly adaptable and customizable for, constantly updating set of emerging channels. And to further illustrate that, here's more of our SMB survey data that show advertising aspirations for the next 12 months. As you can see, they continue to be interested in a broad mix of media. And that's further shown here in other local marketing options where there are a significant amount of SMBs that don't currently use but plan to adopt lots of these channels in the next 12 months. So switching gears here to our third and final premise. This kind of fragmentation we're talking about doesn't just exist in the media channels, but also SMBs themselves. So in other words, they're unevenly dispersed across several classifications and sizes and geographies and verticals, and correspondingly, their needs are so varied. So in order to optimize the time and resources of local agencies selling to them, it's all about being smart about whom to target and call on. And this is also important not just in selecting the local businesses that are ready to buy, but also those that won't churn and will have a high lifetime value when measured against the cost of acquisition. For example, in a lot of cases, the right SMB targets map to what BIA/Kelsey refers to in its survey parlance as plus spenders. These are the segment of our survey sample, that spend $75K or more annually on advertising. So that spend generally indicates that they can afford agency services. In fact, more than half employ agencies when compared to the full SMB sample, where only 17% retain agencies. But they also have a more complex media mix. They use 13 advertising channels on average, compared with 6 for the full SMB sample. So this is an SMB cohort and a sales target that tends to have a higher close rate for agencies and a higher lifetime value. So it's really a question of identifying and attacking this SMB segment in an intelligent and data-driven way, and that's where marketing automation comes in. And another interesting trait of these plus spenders that's worth mentioning is that they're pretty split on wanting a full service do-it-for-me agency offering and a hybrid do-it-with-me offering. And this is an important finding because it really speaks to how local agencies need to be adaptable to many different types of local advertising with different proclivities and levels of savvy. And they really just need to be adaptable to many different types of local advertisers in this continuum, all the way from DIY all the way up to DIFM. And that adaptability means also being able to speak the language of all of these different cohorts. So in other words, the messaging needs to be right. So being able to use automation to aid in communicating the value proposition is another important angle to all of this. There are a few things we know about SMBs, and one is that the sales message needs to be clear. It needs to demonstrate tangible ROI that they can understand, and it needs to be simple above all else. I had some fun with the graphic here with KISS, the band, but really what I'm referring to is the acronym, Keep It Simple, Stupid, and it's really a key axiom in local that many people listening here today are aware of, but it's worth repeating. And when I say demonstrate ROI, SMBs don't want to hear about CPMs and fill rates. They want to hear about how many new customers they've gained and what's the revenue lift. And that's difficult, again, when talking about several disparate media, each with its own buying patterns and KPIs. So it really needs to be translated across all these platforms into English for SMBs. And to have a tool that normalizes several different media channels and gives agencies the raw materials to tell that ROI story that an SMB can understand. That part is very important. It's really about developing a narrative. And that's the key point. The outputs of marketing automation can give agencies the materials to build that narrative much easier and more effectively towards the end of winning an SMB's business. So that hopefully tees things up with the why. Why is marketing automation important and why should local agencies be paying attention to it? The next logical place to go from there is the how. How is it done? And luckily we have George and Vendasta on hand today, Vendasta being a practitioner of this space, to do just that and walk through what they're doing and seeing and best practices. So at this point, I will pass the ball to you, George.
Well, thanks, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to talk to you about our experience with marketing automation. I've been in the sales business for a long time, almost 30 years, and I'm excited about what marketing automation can bring to sales. It gives you the ability to talk to a wide range of potential customers. It really helps with that lead gen stage in our pipeline, and it will help us with some qualifying as well. And those are two things that salespeople and sales managers are very concerned about, is lead gen and then qualifying certain leads. So for the past year or so, we've been working with Salesforce and Pardot, and it has been an interesting experience. We sat down about 6 months ago and we said, what are we getting out of this solution? Outside of it just being a database for our salespeople to go and find out who the contact people are and maybe see some information about their interaction with the client. It did a good job of that, of providing us that information, but there was a lot more. And then when the integration came into marketing automation, that was painful, and it took a long time. And that is the information that we're finding out from other sources, that there really is nothing automated about marketing automation. And there are these huge solutions that do a lot of things for a lot of organizations, but when it comes down to getting something for a media company or an agency, it's really difficult to do, and it's going to come at a high cost. Our experience found that even after we were spending the $120,000 or $130,000 a year for the per seat fees for our sales team and our marketing teams, it was going to be an additional $500,000 in development work to give us what we needed, and not to mention the amount of time that was going to take. So, we found some problems when we were dogfooding this ourselves. Marketers just aren't very happy with the marketing automation solutions out there. When you look at satisfaction scores, they're never people raving about it, saying it's amazing. A lot of people saying, boy, it took us a long time, it was super expensive, and at the end of the day, we really didn't get what we wanted. It takes businesses up to 6 months to fully adopt and implement the marketing automation campaigns, and it is difficult. We're finding that in any of the data that we're seeing about organizations that have tried to use marketing automation. And they are saying that poor integration between sales and marketing, the infrastructure to collect the data that they need, there's a lot of data, but what about the data that I need for my sales and marketing organization? So we started to build a solution that could address the challenges that were out there. And budget being one of the biggest ones, we wanted something that was affordable and wasn't costing us, $500,000 to get us what we need. And we have a very small shop here, about 30 salespeople that are doing work on a day-to-day basis. So what about the organizations that have hundreds of salespeople? I've heard from some of them, those integrations would be in the millions of dollars. And they're very complex. We've got to do a lot of training, and we've got a lot of data, maybe not the stuff that we needed. And again, nothing automated about marketing automation. So here's what's needed. We need smarter systems, and we need niche platforms that address unique needs, because everybody out there has a unique set of needs. We don't need that big solution that we've got to drill down to find exactly what we need. What if we just had something that worked pretty much out of the box? Here's the people that have a stake in the marketing automation funnel. We got Bob, our sales manager, Vern, the sales rep, and Sally, our client, or the business owners that we are trying to talk to. Those are the people that we want to qualify, we want to get in front of, and we eventually want to present to and to sell to. Of course, the two folks on the left-hand side of your screen, they're the salespeople, and we want to talk a little bit about what these people need. So the sales managers, we want in-premise visits or phone calls where we're talking to a decision maker. But it's tough to get appointments today. A lot of people saying that cold calling is dead. So how do we warm up those calls? Marketing automation presents an enormous opportunity for us to do that. We can send out marketing automation emails that educate the clients, maybe scare them a little bit with some reports, and then we can swoop in and save the day with our solutions. But we also need the data. We need to know which of our reps are making the calls, making the appointments, how many times they're reaching out. Just that one component of sales has really changed things. It's a Harvard Business Review study that was done over the last year or so, showing that we have to knock on the door as a salesperson in 2015 about 8 times in order to get an appointment. And that's even with contacts that we do business with that know us. So imagine what it's like with someone we've never done business with or doesn't know our organization. That one little piece of data has changed sales, where now you have sales managers pushing their reps saying, how many times did you call? Did you get over that 8 number? It's become a magic number that sales teams are pushing towards. That's the data that we need from sales management. We need to be able to see how many leads are in the pipeline, how many times we're reaching out to connect with them, how many emails we've sent, what times a day. Michael covered a lot of these things in the data portion of the presentation where he showed you a lot of the data that BIA Kelsey has gathered. So now we need to be able to track that lead all the way through the funnel. We need to be able to provision and fulfill it simply. And then we want to grow our revenue. That's what sales managers want. It starts with the data, and it starts with reaching out to the correct customers. So what do our sales reps want? Well, they want campaigns that educate the client. A lot of what's happening today in digital marketing is we sit down in front of a customer and we basically teach them. We teach them about the things that they're not doing, or we teach them about the things that they're doing poorly, and we show them things that we could help them to do to make them more effective. So it's pretty exciting to me as a sales manager, and I know for our salespeople it's exciting if a lot of that education can be done in advance with really good content that's sent out through marketing automation, that's maybe read at the client's leisure. It'd be great if the client interacted with that content on a Sunday while they're sitting on their lounge chair and they remember that email that they got from their favorite salesperson educating them about something that they could do better about their business. That is the opportunity that exists with marketing automation if the content is right. So the salesperson wants web-generated leads that they can talk to, that are qualified. They also like marketing automation because it helps to educate the customer. And if that content is there and it speaks to the customer directly, it helps the salesperson in making their eventual presentation. So pre-written content, templates, nurture campaigns, all that stuff, if it just came out of the box and was ready to go, that would really help the salesperson, because we all know that salespeople like to sell. They just like to talk to customers. So what does the client want? Well, the local business person, I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want more advertisements. They don't want more sales messages. They want something that is prescriptive, that speaks directly about their business, not form letters, things like that. So having content that speaks directly to the business, like we have inside our snapshot report, has given us phenomenal open rates and click-through rates. The clients are engaging in the content because when they look at the report, it is about their business. The client also wants a digital agency of record, one person that they can go to answer all of their marketing solutions. So that's an exciting thing for marketing automation as well. If we have a relationship with a client, maybe we just build their website, we can continue to market to them about other opportunities that we know that they're probably interested in the digital space. And the customer also wants to know how they compare to their competitors. Never before has analyzing where you stand versus your competitors been more important to a business, because we are in a very competitive landscape. The internet has made it very easy for us to shop at numbers of businesses that do the exact same thing regardless of geography. So knowing how you compare to your competitors is vitally important to the local business person. The core pieces of marketing automation, of course, is that lead source management, scoring the leads, email systems, the rules-based delivery, all that stuff. But what is hard to find for agencies is an automated personalized content engine that drives engagement and an easy onboarding process, which at the end of the day is going to lower our costs. And then if we could have more connectivity between sales and marketing, well, that would be fantastic. Uncovering the content piece is one of the most critical components to any marketing automation campaign. That content has to be relevant. It has to be directed right to the business person. If it could speak right to the business person about their points of pain and their opportunities, we find that that is one of the keys to marketing automation. But getting that content in place is ridiculously expensive. Just for a simple 4-email campaign, the cost can be over $5,000 to develop that content. And to provide a report, well, that's the holy grail. What if we could put a report in front of the customer that was actually about their business? Show them the things that they weren't doing right. And then as a salesperson, we could swoop in and save the day with our solutions. Having those emails that speak directly to our customer and links to a report that is about their business is one of the key components of marketing automation with the snapshot reports. These reports speak directly to the business, and we've set them up with excellent call to action banners and branding for the sales reps that are out there. Keep in mind, data today shows that a local business person is being called on by 25 different agencies trying to sell them marketing around digital products and services. That's every day. So anything that we can do to brand the organization making the call and brand the salesperson and show them as an expert is going to be beneficial for that sales process. What we're finding is the clients, when they open, look at the open rates compared to the industry averages. They are excellent. And the clients are saying, wow, that report is about me. It's about my business. So the salesperson needs to take advantage of the data. If they know who's opening emails and engaging in the content, if they know the best times to call their clients, to connect, if they know the number of times they have to follow up, an average, you got to follow up more than 8 times, you're going to get an appointment. All of these things will help the salesperson be more effective. Plus, we can track all of that data through the funnel. Who's in lead generation mode? Who's in qualifying mode? Who's in presentation mode? And how many times have you followed up? We can then coach those salespeople to be more effective. The salespeople also can prepare their sales script to match the content of the snapshot report. Depending upon what the grade is, there's a different way to talk to the client about how you can solve their problems. So by tying the content to automation, we have a better chance of getting those hot leads for our sales reps to follow up. And how about getting those leads into the hands of the salesperson right in their email? Hey, John, you've got a hot sales opportunity. Get in touch with your client. They opened the report moments ago. Connecting with those clients are tough. So being able to see, based upon the stages of the pipeline, how many times it took to connect will allow salespeople to hold themselves accountable and allow sales managers to hold them accountable. If we could take one salesperson on our team and make them more effective, it would increase our bottom line immediately. Evergreen marketing is an exciting opportunity for sales organizations. Take that client that you're just doing one thing, out of your product catalog. You've got a lot of things that you do at your agency, but this customer is only doing one thing. The example I used earlier was they're doing a website. Imagine if we could upsell them into social marketing campaigns or reputation management or listing claiming. Other products and services that could increase that spend from that existing customer that already trusts our organization. That's the opportunity that exists with evergreen marketing. The sales managers looking for smooth onboarding, easy provisioning, and then the ability to grow with that evergreen marketing existing customers into higher spends. And they want to be able to track their analytics, to hold those reps accountable, to remind them, hey, you've got 15 accounts that need to be followed up. You did a great job of presenting, you're doing a poor job of following up. And then to be able to talk to them about their wins that they've had, or to find out which deals that they've marked closed that they lost, and see what they can do to coach those reps to be more effective. So in conclusion, what's needed? Well, we need smarter marketing automation systems. In fact, why don't we get truly automated marketing automation systems that have easy to manage content pieces and evergreen marketing campaigns, and then platforms that address the unique needs of different spaces, because there is a cost associated with all of these solutions.
Thank you, George. Lots of good demonstrable stuff there. So we're going to now go into a short Q&A period for the remainder of time we have. And I'll remind the audience, if you have a question, please ask it right within the questions dialog box in GoToMeeting. I see a few questions already coming in here, and we'll do our best to get to all of them. Whatever questions we don't get to, we'll make sure to answer you offline. So the first question here is for you, George. And I actually see a few similar questions here, so I'm going to synthesize them by asking you to explain a little bit more about how the data piece works.
Great question, Michael. How do we get started? Well, it all comes from the lead list, the list of accounts that we're going to create snapshot reports and find out about that business. And that data piece is going to fuel the campaigns of emails that are sent out to the customers. So we're going to speak specifically about pieces of that snapshot report. Listings, here's why it's important. Reviews, here's why it's important. Social, here's why it's important. So each email that is sent out will speak to specific things about that business based upon the data that's inside the report. So where do we go to get the lead list? That's the question. That lead list could come from accounts that you're already working with, accounts that you're prospecting, maybe an organization like a Chamber of Commerce that you are going to do a cooperative campaign with, or maybe customers that you've lost, or maybe you want to buy a list. There's a number of different ways that we can get the leads into the system so we can then start to create that data piece that then kicks off the campaigns that continue to market to your potential customers.
Excellent. Another question here for you, George. The main topic is marketing automation, but you speak a lot about sales automation. So what I'm hearing is that the sales piece is critical to marketing automation.
Well, Michael, it's marketing automation, not sales automation. The marketing automation warms up the leads so that a salesperson can have a conversation with them. I think sometimes people are putting the cart before the horse. They think that we are at the point where we can just send out marketing automation and money comes out the other end. And it's just not that simple. Marketing automation, if we make it too salesy in our message saying buy this and it's X number of dollars, people don't read it and they don't engage with it. So we have to make the marketing automation piece so that it's content that teaches the client what they should be doing, or showing them opportunity, or showing them things that they're missing out on, that fear of loss portion. Then the salesperson can get on a call or in front of the client based upon that hot lead or the warm lead and start talking to them about those issues and show them the solution. So it is a fine line, and marketing and sales need to work very closely together to make sure that those messages are getting opened. If it's too salesy, as I said, your open rate is going to go down and your conversion isn't going to be as high, and we want that marketing automation campaign to be as effective as possible.
Excellent. And then lastly, there are a few questions here about getting in touch. So what's the best way for people to reach you, George?
Well, the best way to learn more about our snapshot and the marketing automation program that is offered through Vendasta is to get you on a 20-minute presentation and to show you the ways that we can help your organization, how it works from when we get that lead to when we put it in the marketing automation campaign to when we produce the snapshot report, how we track the leads, how we track the sales pipeline, and then ultimately how we get the salesperson in front of the client and talk to them about those solutions. So reach out to me after the webinar and we'll get you onto a presentation. We can show you more about how we can help your organization with our truly automated marketing automation.
That's great. And I'll also add to that by saying that we're going to show our contact information in just a bit in terms of myself and George, in terms of getting in touch. So we're going to conclude the discussion there as we're out of time, but please stick with us for a few minutes because we have a few giveaways and some housekeeping information on how to get the recording of this webcast and the slides. So first off, to thank you all for your time in joining us today, here is some information on a free report from BIA Kelsey, co-produced and sponsored by Vendasta. It's called Automated Marketing, Managing for Personal Experience in SMB Markets. It dives deep on all the topics we talked about today, and as a registrant of today's webcast, you will automatically get a link to access the paper for free. So look out for that by email. And finally, we would like to offer you all a discount code for our next conference coming up next week. The code will get you $200 off the current registration price, and this will be an exciting conference to attend. As the name implies, we're going to be talking about what's coming next in media and advertising, and we're very excited. We have speakers from Google and Facebook and LA Times and ESPN, and we just scored Robert Scoble as our day 2 keynoter. So it'll really be a worthwhile experience, and we'd love to see you there. I'd love to meet you. If you're able to make it, please reach out to me, and my contact information is here on this next slide. So in closing, I'd like to thank George first, and also everyone else for listening. As a reminder to all audience members, you'll be getting an email tomorrow with the links to access the webinar replay, including the PDF of the slides and the white paper also that I mentioned. So this concludes our webinar today. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.